You are listening to Rewritten Fates, a dark fantasy romance series. Book 1, The Condemned Duchess. Chapter 12, The Forgotten Goddess. Morning arrived so softly it almost felt suspicious. There was no frantic knocking, no servants rushing in with trembling hands, no armored guards waiting to escort the condemned Duchess to her next public humiliation. Only silence. A pale wash of early light spilled through the tall windows, stretching across the floor in long silver bars. Somewhere far below, a fountain murmured in the palace gardens like a secret being told badly. I lay awake for several moments, staring up at the high ceiling, trying to convince myself that the previous night had actually happened. The ball, the silver light, the king delaying my execution. The story had fundamentally broken. In the original novel, the villainess never survived the night of the ritual. But here, the ritual had revealed something the Saintess had not wanted anyone to see. And now the entire palace was holding its breath. I pushed myself upright, the silk sheet sliding around my waist. Across the room, Alaric was already awake. Of course he was. He stood by a long table, one hand braced against the polished wood, the other holding a piece of parchment. Several documents lay spread around him in careful disorder, weighted down by a dagger and a silver seal bearing the Viremont crest. The early light caught the sharp line of his profile. Dark hair slightly disordered, black shirt unfastened at the throat. He looked less like a duke this morning and more like a dangerous man caught between strategy and instinct. "You slept?" he said without looking up. His voice was rougher than usual, lower. "That sounds almost disappointed," I said, swinging my legs over the side of the bed. Now he looked at me, only for a moment. "Merely surprised? I assumed panic would be a waste of energy." "That depends," he said dryly. "Some people are very committed to wasting energy." I slipped on a robe and crossed the room. The closer I got to the table, the more I could see that the documents were old, very old. These weren't palace reports. These pages were yellowed, their edges softened by centuries. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Reading. I dislike mysteries." "That makes this palace a poor fit for you." "It makes me useful in it." I leaned over the table, my eyes catching a phrase on a faded parchment. The silver shrines were stripped and consecrated anew. A small, strange chill moved across my skin. Silver. I went still. Alaric noticed, of course. "That word means something to you," he observed. "I don't know," I said finally, "but I don't like the way it feels. That makes two of us." The palace archives were unhelpful, which is usually a sign that someone has tried very hard to clean them. He held out a fragile page. "This is one of the oldest surviving records of the land beneath this palace." I took it. My heart skipped as I read. Before the foundation of the royal palace, a temple stood upon this ground in honor of the veiled silver one. "The veiled silver one?" I repeated. "A title," Alaric said, "not a name. Her line moved hidden among the blooded houses, protected by covenant until the Ascension Purge." I lowered the parchment, my mind racing. The palace was built on a temple? To this silver one? "The official history says the temple belonged to a heretical cult," Alaric said, his eyes narrowing. "The unofficial history is more interesting. The first Saintess rose to power by erasing that faith, not replacing it, erasing it, The room seemed to grow colder. Last night, the Saintess's ritual hadn't reacted to dark magic. It had reacted to the ghost of the faith she had spent centuries trying to bury. Alaric turned another document toward me, a family tree. Several branches had been inked over. Others ended abruptly with a tiny silver circle. "This," he said, "is what remains of the bloodline record. The temple served the Silver One's descendants." I stared at the crossed-out branches, a hunted lineage, a destroyed temple, and somehow I, the woman in this body, was tied to it. "That would imply," I started. "That someone carrying that blood still exists," Alaric finished. The silence after that was immense. I became acutely aware of the drag of the robe against my skin and the cold floor beneath my bare feet. Had the silver light answered Elara, or had it answered me? "I knew this story," I whispered to myself. Alaric's gaze sharpened. "What?" "Nothing. I know how stories like this end, with the woman everyone decided to hate dying exactly the way they expected her to." Something in his expression changed, not a softening, but a recognition. He looked at me for a long time before looking back at the records. "If this is true, the Saintess Order will not merely investigate you, they will erase you." "Yes." The word landed between us like a vow. A sharp knock struck the door. 3 strikes. Official. Alaric immediately slid the oldest parchment beneath a stack, hiding it. "Come in." The door opened to reveal Lord Hadrian. He looked pinched with self-importance. "Your Grace, the council has convened. The Saintess has raised a formal concern regarding the Duchess's connection to pre-ascension heresy." Heresy. A much cleaner word than rightful bloodline. Much easier to burn. Alaric stood tall, his presence filling the room. "Tell the council the Duchess will attend, and she will attend with me." Hadrian's mouth tightened. The Saintess requested a private audience. "No." Alaric's voice was absolute. "I would deny anyone who asks for my wife in private while the court is deciding whether she deserves to live." My wife. The words landed harder than they should have. They weren't romantic. They were a claim, a strategic shield. Hadrian bowed stiffly and left. When the door closed, I looked at Alaric. "Well, that sounds bad." His mouth twitched, a fraction of a smile, profoundly. "So what now?" Alaric's gaze locked onto mine. "Now I find out how much of the kingdom is willing to lie to keep you from speaking." Somewhere deep inside me, the silver pulse stirred again. Not a spark of magic, but a door beginning very slowly to open. But in the royal court, nothing is ever truly over. Secrets move in the shadows, and every choice rewrites fate. Continue the story in the next episode of Rewritten Fates, and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next.